You're listening to the Business Artist Podcast, and my name is Jan Melhouse. Today our guest is Dan Brulé. Dan Brulé is the world's famous expert and renowned pioneer in the field of breathwork. He's a leader in the worldwide spiritual breathing movement, and he served in the United States Navy as a medical deep-sea dive during the Vietnam era. Dan was one of the first certified rebirthers. He's a prana yoga and qigong master. More than 100,000 people in over 45 countries apply his breathing techniques. He has worked among many others with the 3 times wrestling Olympic gold medal winner Alexandr Karelin, and he took part in a 10-year study of breathwork with the Russian Academy of Science. Dan Brulé does workshops, coaching, seminars all over the world, and his mission is to turn at least 1 billion people on the healing and creative power of breathwork. I'm very happy to introduce today our guest, Dan Brulé. Hi, Dan.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. So you're in Bucharest right now?
Yeah, I'm in Bucharest, and I guess that bio comes from a few years ago because I'm up to 66 countries now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, great. In lots of different countries like Estonia, Russia, Mexico, all over the world, really.
Yes, and I got, I think by the time this year is over, I will have hit 70 countries. So
hard to keep up.
The world is ready to breathe, finally.
Yes. And so maybe we can start quickly. If you can tell us just quickly about your journey, how you arrived at this breathing, the passion, and that's your purpose to help as many people to empower themselves with breathing, to heal themselves, to unleash their creative power. But it started basically in the Catholic Church, which I've read you're still recovering from, and then from X-ray school to military to this breathing purpose. So maybe you can just run us through it quickly.
Yeah, well, every job I've ever had has been connected to breathing. Yes. It was something inescapable, I guess, you know. And actually, probably it started in a very conscious, or let's say systematic way, when I was an X-ray technician in 1970. And one of the easiest X-rays to take is a chest X-ray. And when you take a person's chest X-ray, you tell them to take in a deep breath and then hold it, and you take their picture. Well, I gave those simple instructions to probably 3,000 people in my first year, and everybody does something different. It was as if the breath just started speaking to me. What they called a full breath, the muscles they use, what they went through to do it, their expression on their face. And so I became fascinated with a person's relationship to the breath.
Yes.
And 40 years ago, I felt like a voice crying out in the desert. People are breathing. What's that? Who needs it? We're already breathing. But thank God, 40 years later, science is catching up. And with all the research on the vagus nerve and brain and neuroplasticity, people are finally discovering that, wow, it's not an accident that the breathing is completely automatic and totally under our control. That's not an accident of nature. That's not a coincidence. That's an opportunity. That's an invitation to take part in our own nature and our own evolution. So I'm a missionary for the breath, no doubt about it.
But it's really fascinating that I think I can't, I don't have anything else in my imagination where it's totally automated. So normally we don't have to take care of the breath at all. It all works automated, but we can, if we want, we can go in and we can control it, and we can change it, and we can consciously breathe and change our lives, our power, our energy, our the way we speak, the way we act with others, everything with it.
Yeah, because when you control your breath, you're getting a handle on your consciousness, and you're getting a handle on your energy. And so in high stakes life and death situations, people are trained to breathe. You need to manage your emotional state. You need to manage your mental state. You need to manage your arousal. And so breathing gives us that control. We can control our mental, emotional state. We can control our physiology, our chemistry, and we can control our behavior. We can control our focus. And so, everybody needs to discover that by controlling their breath, they can control so many things that maybe they thought, oh, I just have to live with it, or oh, there's nothing I can do about it. But no, we're creative beings, and the mind gets its creative power from the breath. And so the better we breathe, the better we live. Simple.
And so when you go in the state where you just watch yourself breathing, so it's maybe not really controlling your breath, it's more that you watch that it's doing breathing from its own, and you just watch it like another person watching this body breathing.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that also controlling, or is that?
Well, it's that there's the way I teach breath work. There are two aspects. There's breath awareness, which was you're describing. That's mindfulness training. That's meditative awareness. That's concentration training. That's focus training. And the breath is just going by itself. And you don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to breathe. You allow the breath to come and go, and you become the witness, which is the essence of the Buddha. That ability to non-judging, detached awareness is so important. And all of the benefits of meditation now are so well unarguable. And the other part of that, so there's breath awareness, which is sort of a passive practice, and then conscious breathing, that's where we come in. You give the breath a certain quality, you give the breath a certain pattern, you breathe in a certain way, and you hack into your nervous system, you hack into your immune system. And so yes, it puts the real power within our reach.
And so when I read your book, Just Breathe, I was a bit overwhelmed because there are so many different things you can do with the breathe. You can use like do it with the nose or with the mouth in, or exhale then with the mouth or with the nose, or quick in and long out, or hold the breath before it goes out again. So it was kind of like for every life situation, you can apply a different technique to really be in your full power.
Yeah, exactly. Because we have unconscious breathing patterns. So breathing is a behavior. And like any behavior, we model it unconsciously. We form certain behaviors under stress and so on. And some behaviors will make you a fortune. Other behaviors will put you in prison. Some behaviors do both. but so the average person could be breathing in a way that makes their body think it's in danger. So, we have this reptilian brain, and all it knows is, do I eat it or will it eat me? That's or maybe do I mate with it?
Yes.
But that simple brain is monitoring every breath we take, and it regulates our breathing. And so when we breathe a certain way, we send information to that lizard brain, to that crocodile brain. And so if you're breathing unconsciously, you might be unconsciously sending emergency signals to that brain. And that's exactly what most people do. Chronic anxiety and low-level kind of anxiety is often caused by dysfunctional breathing. If I go through the day breathing, taking short, those quick breaths, that's an emergency signal. And if I hold my breath, that's an emergency signal. And people hold their breath probably 1,000 times a day. Putting a key in the door, they hold their breath. Trying to remember something, they hold their breath. Getting up from a chair, they lock up their breathing. And so that lizard brain doesn't care. All I'm doing is putting a key in the door. All it did is it got the signal that there's an emergency. And so it behooves us to take conscious breaths to deliberately send a different signal. And all of the research on the vagus nerve shows exactly how and why some of these Taoist practices and yogic practices work. Because it was only up till 20 years ago that scientists discovered that 80% of the information going through the vagus nerve doesn't come from the brain to the body, it goes from the body to the brain. So the vagus nerve is the biggest nerve in the body. There's two branches, vagus, vagabond, the same route, it wanders everywhere in the body. And scientists just always assume that, oh, this is the biggest nerve in the body, and it's how the brain controls all the organs and everything. But no, it's monitoring what's happening in the body. And when we breathe consciously, we activate the vagus nerve So we get a chance to come in there and choose the signal that we send to the brain. So you might be tricking your nervous system already with rapid breathing, breath holding, shallow breaths, and that's sending information of fear and anxiety to the brain. So by consciously slowing the breath down and consciously breathing in a certain paced way, you choose the information that the brain gets. And so that's what puts the power of this stuff in our hands.
Very, very interesting. I mean, what I'm also thinking about, and I know you're also interested in this area, is because, of course, there's right now a lot of research and people who say that's coming in the next 20 years, that it goes even as far that we can download ourselves in the cloud and live as algorithms. But if most of the information is sent from the body to the brain, and we are only as basically only the brain is in the algorithm, how can it work then? How would it work?
Yes, well, you know, we're still waiting for science to get off of the materialistic footing that it's on. You know, the idea that somehow consciousness evolved from the brain. It's the other way around, right? So, you know, consciousness didn't evolve out of matter. Matter evolved out of consciousness.
Yes.
And breathing, the more conscious we become of the breath, the more conscious we become of everything. The more aware I am of my breathing, the more aware I am of my posture, my reactions, my emotions, my behaviors. And so breath awareness and conscious breathing puts us in charge of things that in the past we thought, well, that's just the way I am. There's nothing I can do about it. I just want to slap people when they say that.
Wake them up.
Yeah.
So, of course, I think reading the book has helped me a lot to consciously apply that. And there are worksheets in the book, and you also describe in different situations what you need. Maybe if you're tired, what kind of techniques you have to do to feel more energy, or if you feel anxiety, if you want to calm down, what to do. And then obviously, apart from reading a book, workshops are very good. Also on YouTube, you can do pranayama stuff and this. But what would you recommend in general to a person who says, okay, I want to learn how I can use breath to really shape my life?
Yeah. First, we start with breath awareness. You need to develop the practice of just sitting every day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If you can afford it, 20 minutes. But just where you're not doing anything, just sitting and just observing the breath. Just being with the breath and observing the breath. Let it come and let it go. Follow the sensations. So as you're breathing in, you focus on the sensations at the tip of your nose. You feel the breath up into your sinuses in your head. Feel the breath when it swirls in your throat. Feel the movements in the body that the breath causes. This is meditative awareness. And so, you know, develop a daily practice of that. And the other part of that is pay attention to your breath in certain moments. How do you breathe when you're upset? How do you breathe when someone is praising you? How do you breathe when you're stuck in traffic? How do you breathe when you're in pain? How do you breathe when you're trying to solve a math problem? How do you breathe when you're standing in front of a group and you have an important presentation? You have to be able to notice how you're breathing to correct any dysfunctional breathing patterns that don't support you in that moment. So that's the first part. And the second thing is I like to start with basics. Don't give people complicated things. The sigh of relief and yawning. Two things we already know how to do. But when you do them consciously, you pack them with energy and you can be creative. So a simple sigh of relief. And a sigh of relief is an inhale that's twice as big as your tidal volume. An inhale that's twice as big as your average breath. So you do that on purpose. You take a breath that's twice as big as normal. And then when you let go, don't just let go of the breath, let go of your jaw, let go of your neck, let go of your shoulders. Develop the art of releasing tension at the moment that you release the exhale. So a simple sigh of relief will do that. And you can practice it and you can make a single sigh of relief or 2 or 3 of those, and you can clear a lot of pain and stress and anxiety from your system with just a few very conscious, juicy, dramatic sighs of relief. And the other thing is yawning. you know, when we yawn, something remarkable happens in the nervous system. Neuroscientists cannot find any other single activity that lights up more parts of the brain, that has more neurological benefits than a simple yawn. And so do it on purpose and enjoy it and squeeze all the juice out of it. And I like to say that yawning is yoga. When you yawn, we have an urge to stretch. And our jaw opens so big. We have lymph glands in our throat. We have lymph glands in our armpits. And that natural urge to stretch, open our jaw and stretch our arms, that's nature trying to get us to do something that's very good for us. And so do it more often. So I just start with simple sighs and yawns. And then basically you just do what's interesting. A healthy person should be able to breathe quickly. You know, 60 breaths a minute, 120 breaths a minute, 180 breaths a minute, like a happy dog. So you practice breathing quickly. Yes. And a healthy person should be able to breathe slowly. You know, 6 breaths a minute, 4 breaths a minute, 2 breaths a minute, 1 breath a minute. So you find where is the cutting edge of your growth, where is your comfort level, and you practice gradually stretching that. Breathe through your nose, breathe through your mouth, breathe high in your chest, breathe low in your belly. It's like a musical instrument, and you want to practice the scales. You want to loosen up the whole system. So you breathe fast, you breathe slow, you breathe in your nose, you breathe in your mouth, you breathe high in your chest, you breathe low in your belly, and you just open and loosen and strengthen the entire breathing mechanism. So it's not rocket science. Very simple things have just tremendous benefit and power.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean that's I think is maybe even easier in the beginning to just experiment it on yourself and see what it's doing with yourself instead of applying 15 different formulas or something.
Yeah, you start with what's comfortable. So if you find a particular breath or sound or breathing pattern or breathing rhythm that you really, you just enjoy it, double down on it, practice it. But you also have to practice in the direction of challenge. Mm-hmm. How fast can you breathe and still be relaxed and comfortable? How slow can you breathe and still be relaxed and comfortable? Can you breathe high in your chest easily and effortlessly? Can you breathe low in your belly? So yeah, we'd start with very simple things, and then you can build on them. There are, very specific breathing patterns that you can apply for certain things. But in the beginning, we're just playing. We're just exploring, finding our limits and gently stretching them.
Yes. You also said that it's not only the healing power and that you can control your life with the breath, but also the creative power of breathing is one of the key elements. So this is the business first, and our purpose is really to teach people how to do business with the approach of an artist, and obviously creativity is extremely important. So if you could elaborate a little bit on the creative power of breathing, that would be very nice.
Yeah, well, breathing is an art, or it can be raised to the level of an art. We can all talk, we can all dance, we can all cook, we can all sing, but obviously some people raise those things to the level of an extraordinary art. Breathing is the same thing. And so I have a friend, Barnett Bain. His book is called The Book of Doing and Being. And he's a film producer, a Hollywood director. And he does workshops on creativity. And and he told me, he says, he waits until, people are in Hollywood, they all want to be creative. So he's very busy with his workshops on creativity. And he waits until people get in the room, and then he tells them this is all about breathing. See, creativity is a feeling thing. Creativity is an emotional thing. It's a body thing. It's not a head thing. And most people are just up in their heads all the time, and you can't connect to creative energy through your head. And so he used the example of, if you take a puppy away from its mother, or you take a little baby kitten away from its mother, you hear from both of them. You have severed an energetic bond, and the mother is not happy, and the baby is overwhelmed with what Barnett calls overwhelming feelings of aliveness. distressing feelings of aliveness. And there's no escaping them because the body is overwhelmed with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when you get a little puppy, it cries all night for the first few days you have it at home. It's processing that severing of the energetic bond. That happened to us as babies. And so when we're separated from our mother, we experience this overwhelming, distressing feelings in our body. And there's no escaping them. The only way to escape them is to leave your body, abandon ship, shuttle out, go up into your head. And that's how most people are trying to make their way through life. And so as Barnett teaches, the only way to get back in touch with your creativity is to get back in touch with your body. The only way to get in touch with your body is to breathe. But when you breathe, you bring up all of the same feelings that frighten you out of your body as a 2-month or a 2-year-old child. So all we have to do is, you could practice hyperventilation. It's not a good word. People say, oh, it's got negative connotations. But if you breathe full breaths, slow, full breaths continuously, you start to get dizzy. You start to get uncomfortable. Those are the feelings that you're afraid of. And all you need to do is breathe through them, relax into them, and you can get back through those feelings, back in touch with your body fully, and that awakens creativity. So breathing awakens heart intelligence, emotional intelligence. It awakens body intelligence, gut intelligence. And instead of trying to make your way through life, just thinking your way through life and solving problems with your mind, you engage your heart intelligence, you engage your body intelligence, and your decisions and your choices are better, and you're naturally more creative, more intuitive.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you follow Robin Sharma a little. Robin Sharma is the author who wrote The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and now the...
Yeah, oh yeah, I read that years ago, yep.
And he also talks a lot about that everybody's talking about mindset, but if you don't have this heart intelligence, and he also says soul intelligence, only with the mind you might understand it, but to act on it and to implement it, it's not possible. And
yeah, we get hijacked by our emotions, and then we end up saying things and doing things that we regret, or it holds us back. We hesitate. And so, breathing helps us to control all those physiological and emotional reactions so that we can stay clear, we can stay creative in the moment, especially under stress, because that's when most people's breathing goes dysfunctional, when they're under stress. And in my work in the military, I realized breathing goes dysfunctional one of two ways. If you press a person, if you push them to the edge of their rope, they either hyperventilate or they hold their breath. And those are the two general directions. And so it's good to know about yourself, which one of those do you do? When you get under stress, do you overbreathe or do you underbreathe?
I think
and if you know that, then you can prepare. You know how to regulate your breathing so that you stay in the zone. And that's the really cool thing about breath work, is that you can put yourself into the flow state. You can put yourself into the zone. And now my excitement is around group flow. We've got individual flow in the zone state. We got that down. But how do you create group flow in a team that really needs to work together and cooperate and be creative together? When people synchronize their breathing, they connect in a certain energetic way. It's quite beautiful. And that's been happening a lot anyway. Like when people pray together out loud, if they repeat a prayer, they are synchronizing their breathing without realizing it. And that's why it feels so good to be in the congregation every week. And when people sing together, when they repeat mantras together, one of the invisible things happening is that their breathing is becoming synchronized. And it creates this really beautiful connection, heart connection, intuitive connection. So a good example is like a Navy SEAL team, right? Or any sports team, where you huddle in a circle and you just breathe the same breathing pattern for a couple of minutes. You synchronize your breathing. And then when you go out, a remarkable thing happens. I see something and you have an urge to look that way is pretty cool. And so, yeah, group flow and using the breath to get into the flow state. Hey, what works in the battlefield works in the boardroom, and it works in the classroom, and it works in the sports arena. It works in the bedroom. Okay, so it's applicable everywhere.
So when we take this now, if you say you're in a classroom with maybe 15 people and they all have the same breathing and they come into a flow, and then maybe you achieve things which you wouldn't achieve otherwise, or a sports team, they play on a level they would never reach and if they wouldn't do it. So let's say you reach your mission goal of bringing 1 billion people to this breathing. So what would it do with the world if we have 1 billion people consciously breathing?
Well, the breath literally connects us.
Yeah.
It's a pretty spiritual idea. Oh, we're all connected. We're all one. People who actually feel that in their heart, they feel a connection to other people. You can't do violence. You can't get away with certain things if you can literally feel that connection to others. And so it's not just a pretty spiritual idea. We are all connected. We're all sucking off the same bubble of air on this planet. The molecules, some molecules of air, literally that the Buddha breathed, that Jesus breathed, that Moses breathed, some of those actual molecules that Caesar breathed are coming through us, and that carries information. So it's about this heart connection and human connection. The breathing makes that connection, and it becomes more and more difficult to do certain things. Why haven't we grown out of this violent urges that we have on the planet? In the Middle East and places in the world where they've been fighting for 1,000 years, why haven't we grown out of that? Breathing helps us to get past that stage we're stuck at in life, where there's this illusion that we're separate, that that I could drink poison, and think you're going to die, So, violent thoughts and angry thoughts, they poison our system, and they don't allow us to really connect. And so breathing, it gives people that felt sense of connection, and certain things just stop happening. And it becomes very difficult to get away with being unconscious. And so the more people who breathe consciously, the more people who are waking up and becoming more conscious. And I don't see things in terms of good and evil. I see things in terms of conscious and unconscious. And so breathing is waking people up, making them more conscious. And that naturally leads to more peace, more cooperation, more tolerance. And the world needs that.
The world needs that, yeah. And the good thing is that there are so many movements right now. I mean, when you have awareness for this or conscious about it, then you see how many movements are going into this direction of higher consciousness. It's for example, like, I don't know if like Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden, they are very much, I think, on the same level, or also Wim Hof, for example, I think is on the same level. And so many people with their kind of art, they made certain things to their art, but it all goes in the same direction of connecting us to cooperate, to be in one flow, to be conscious, and we have this shift in consciousness in a way as well.
Yeah, that's the raising of consciousness on the planet. And the more individuals who raise their consciousness, the more the planetary consciousness raises. And the more the consciousness raises on the planet, the more individuals raise their consciousness. So you're either in the game, you're either lifting other people up, or you're holding them down. And if we're all connected, who cares who gets lifted up first? If the best thing I can do for myself is to serve other people, and the best thing I can do for other people is to grow myself. And so breathing is a very practical way to put a lot of these spiritual principles into actual felt experiences and practical ways.
And so just going in one more thing, because of course it is the Business Artist podcast, and to me all the characteristics of a business artist you have yourself as well. You're living your purpose, That's very important. You found why are you here on this earth? You do it constantly, you do hard work, but to you, the way I've noticed, I've read interviews, to you it's fun. It's not something where you have to push yourself really to do, because you really enjoy it. You get love from other people. You change something. So what kind of advice could you give to people? Because there are many people, also middle-aged people, who are in their 40s or something, and maybe think already kind of life is over, or they're not able to find their purpose. They're not able to or they every day they think rather want to do something else, or to take the risk to do their passion. What kind of advice could you give to those people?
Well, I teach what I call a formula for transformation. It has 3 ingredients. Awareness, that's the consciousness factor. The most spiritual people I've ever met have been the most conscious. And the most conscious people I've ever met have been the most spiritual. So for me, maybe there's no difference between being conscious and being spiritual. And so if we can wake up to our unconscious habits, our automatic reactions, if we can become conscious in those moments, we can change the direction of our life. We can change the situation. Imagine 2 people arguing, and one person just decides, you know what? Everything changes from that moment on. All they did was interrupt the pattern with the breath, and everything changes from there on. So that's the first part of the formula. Just wake up, become conscious of your automatic reactions and your impulses and your contractions. And the second is relaxation. Learn to use the breath to vent tension. Learn to use the breath to release physical tension from the body. Learn to let go. You know, sometimes that's the only way to peace, is you can't get there by fighting more. You just let go. And you know, so learning to let go and practice letting go of your exhale. Because if you haven't learned how to let go of your exhale, don't be surprised if you can't let go of pain. If you haven't learned how to let go of your breath, don't be surprised if you can't let go of fear and anxiety or thoughts going around in your head. You haven't learned the energetic skill of letting go. So we use the breath to learn how to practice to let go quickly, let go completely, and to relax in situations when it's the last thing you would think to do. So that's the second part of the formula. Letting go, releasing, right? It's the release factor. And the third is breathing. Learn how to use your breath to generate energy, and not philosophical, intellectual idea of energy. Energy you can feel, you know, electrical, tingling, bubbling, vibrating life force in your body. And so those are the 3 things. Learn how to use your breath to become more conscious, practice breathing to vent and release tension, and learn how to breathe so you can generate energy. You know, there's this model in the Navy SEALs that says, when you think you're out of gas, when you think you can't take another step, when you have no energy left, you still have 40% energy in your battery. You just haven't learned how to tap it. Yeah. And so breathwork helps us to tap that reserve energy. And so you learn to use the breath for these 3 things: wake up, let go, and take charge. And in business, those are often the things that get us through. Just becoming aware of something we weren't aware of, becoming more conscious of the effect our communication is having, learning to let go and go with the flow instead of fighting, and learning how to generate energy when you need it to perform.
That's a very good advice, I think. And I myself, and I've seen it for myself, I think if you become conscious and go into breathing, meditation, you will see how many problems will solve, which you would in your mind have no idea how to do it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So if people want to follow you, if they want to know what you're doing, if they maybe want to even join a workshop, where can they find information about you?
Well, thank you. Yeah, breathmastery.com. My website is breathmastery.com. And you can find me on Facebook and on YouTube, Dan Brulé or Breath Mastery. I'm all over YouTube and I'm all over Instagram. Yes. Dan Brulé Official is my Instagram account. And 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 Facebook. So if you Google breathing, it's not hard to find me.
That's true. Google is probably the biggest way. Yes.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with breathing, so it's really hard to look into breathing and not bump into me somewhere.
Yes, and I think you also have, even if you are not there, but I think you have also associates in different countries where you can do breath training with them, and they apply your technique or something, right?
Yes, I've trained lots and lots of breath workers, and I have probably 50 or 60 people in our practitioner program right now. Many people take the practitioner program just for their own advanced training. But you know, if you find something that really works for you and helps you, we have a natural inclination to share it with others. And so if you take some training, you can be really good at passing on these skills and these knowledge, and then we can accelerate the awakening on the planet.
Yes, that was very good last word. Thanks a lot for this interview, Dan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope many people will use this breathing to find their purpose and be successful and reach everything they want. And we come together, global flow.
Yes.
Good. So I wish you a great day and a great workshop today in Bucharest.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan. Bye-bye.
All righty. Yep. Bye-bye.